So hello boys and girls, my name is Mr. Scottie Locklear and I'm the PTO president for Union Chapel Elementary School. And I'm going to be reading you a book today and we're going to be talking about young Frederick Douglass. This book was also written by Andrew Woods, and Frederick Douglass was a freedom fighter. So let's find out a little bit more about Frederick Douglass. Frederick was born a slave, but he became a great leader who fought for the rights of African Americans. Frederick Bailey, he was born in Maryland in 1817. His mother was a slave, and her owner would not let her raise him. So Fred lived with his grandparents, Betsy and Isaac Bailey. Fred was happy. He had fun playing with his cousins and helping his grandma and fishing in the river. Because he was a slave, Fred was only given 2 knee-high or 2 knee-length shirts each year. These shirts were all he had to wear in the cold winters and in the hot summers. So when Fred was 7, Grandma took him to the plantation of his master, Captain Anthony. Grandma didn't want to leave him, but she really had no other choice. Fred was scared and he was lonely. And at the plantation, he helped bring the cows in for milking, and he cleaned the front yards and ran errands for Captain Anthony. The work wasn't too hard, but Fred was always tired and he was always hungry. And slaves, they had to wake up before sunrise and did not stop working until after dark. For breakfast, the children ate cornmeal mush from a big bowl, and dinner might be just a piece of cornbread. So one night, the cook did not give Fred any dinner, and Fred sat outside the kitchen. He was so hungry, and he couldn't fall asleep. Suddenly, he had a surprise visitor. It was his mother. She had traveled from a plantation 15 miles away. His mother held him, and she gave him a ginger cake to eat. Then she told the cook to treat Fred better. From then on, Fred knew that his mother loved him and was always thinking about him. When Fred was 8, he was sent to Baltimore to work for Captain Anthony's relatives. They were Sophie and Hugh Alden. Fred had to take care of their young son, Tommy. Here he was treated well and he had plenty to eat. Every afternoon, Miss Auld would read the Bible to Tommy and Fred loved to listen to the stories, so he asked Miss Auld to teach him to read. Miss Auld was happy to teach him, and Fred loved these afternoon lessons. He quickly learned the alphabet and could spell many short words. But one day, Mrs. Auld told her husband how fast Fred was learning, and Miss Auld got very angry. He said it was against the law for slaves to learn how to read. Miss Auld never gave Fred any more lessons. But Fred still wanted to learn. He took every chance that he could get to teach himself how to read and write. But in March 1833, Fred was sent back to the plantation. His new master was Thomas Auld, which was Hugh Auld's brother, and he often beat his slaves. He didn't like Fred, and he treated him really harsh. When Fred was 17, Thomas Auld sent him to the farm of Edward Covey. Covey promised to turn the troublemaking slaves into obedient slaves, and Fred was brave. One day while Covey was beating him, Fred fought back, and Fred won. After that, Fred was more determined than ever to be a free man. A few years later, Fred was sent back to Baltimore. There he worked in a shipyard. He was happier now, but still wanted to be free. One day he met a free black sailor. This sailor had papers that proved that he was a free man. The sailor lent Fred these papers and a uniform to help him escape to the north, where slavery was illegal. So on September the 3rd, 1838, Fred escaped to freedom. He took a train to New Bedford, Massachusetts, and he changed his name to Frederick Douglass to avoid capture. In New Bedford, Douglass got a job in a shipyard, and later he married Anna Mary, a free black woman from Baltimore. Douglass joined a group of abolitionists. They were people who wanted to end slavery. In 1841, he made his free speech against slavery. It was a big hit with the audience. Over the next 4 years, Douglas gave many speeches. He even wrote a book about his life. The Auds read Douglas' book, and they became very angry, and they wanted their runaway slave returned. Douglas went to England so he would not be captured. And in England, Douglas became a popular speaker and writer. He found friends who raised enough money to buy his freedom from the Auds. After 2 years, Douglas returned to the United States and he went to New York. He started an anti-slavery newspaper called the North Star. And when the Civil War began, Douglas asked President Lincoln to let black soldiers fight in the Union Army, and President Lincoln agreed. The Civil War ended slavery, but Douglas continued to fight for civil rights and freedom for black people until he died on February 20th, 1895. Frederick Douglass's words led many people on the path to freedom. Freedom for all.